Did you know that in China they make noodles out of gelatin? Or that fried duck tongue is a very popular snack in certain provinces of this country? Today we will discover some of the strangest and most appetizing dishes in China. Let's watch it, it's fascinating. Gelatin noodles. The country most associated with pasta today is Italy, but it was the Chinese who originally invented it, and they have some particularly unusual recipes like what we're seeing here. These are the strange but tasty gelatin noodles, known there as liang fen, which roughly translates to cold noodles. Unlike regular pasta, these curious noodles are made from mung bean starch, which, when combined with water, cooked over low heat, and left to rest for a while, creates a large block of gelatin. If you enjoy satisfying videos related to textures, you'll love this. To create the noodles, the block is scraped with a special grater, creating large strands of gelatin that are eaten like noodles. They are generally consumed cold and are especially popular in the summer months due to their refreshing and light texture. They are usually accompanied by very spicy sauces made with garlic, sesame oil, chilies, and soy sauce. Interestingly, the gelatin tends to fully absorb the sauce, giving each bite a lot of flavor. I'd love to try them. And you? Century eggs. In the culinary world, some dishes are born out of the necessity to preserve food, and Chinese century eggs are undoubtedly one of the most peculiar examples. Despite their name, they are not cured for 100 years, just a few weeks or months. Originating from China and also known as thousand-year-old eggs, they are prepared using chicken, duck, or quail eggs, which are subjected to a prolonged curing process. The fresh egg is completely coated with a mixture of wood ash, lime, salt, clay, and rice husks. After this coating, they are stored in a cool, dark place for several weeks or months. The alkaline mixture that covers them chemically cooks the egg, completely transforming it in both appearance and flavor. The white turns into a translucent gelatin of dark amber or brown color, while the yolk becomes creamy and acquires a grayish-green or black tone. Its flavor is strong and characteristic, with a mix of salty and sour notes that, according to experts, is difficult to compare with any other food. Although the process dates back thousands of years, entire industries today are dedicated to their production, as they are a popular snack in China, especially on special occasions like weddings. While their unique flavor and peculiar appearance may not be to everyone's liking, century eggs are a fascinating example of how the need to preserve food has led to unique culinary creations with a long tradition. Would you dare to try this ancient delicacy? Silkworm Poe. For thousands of years, silk was China's main industry, driving the country's economy and culture. Over this time, the ingenuity of the Chinese people was not limited to the production of silk itself, but also learned to make the most of all the byproducts of the industry. One of them is the silkworm pupa, the final stage of the worm's development before it becomes a butterfly. After the process of extracting the silk, which involves boiling the cocoon to kill the pupa, the latter becomes cooked and turns into a rich and nutritious source of protein. Far from being waste, they have become a common ingredient in Chinese cuisine. They are not a dish in themselves, but rather a versatile type of protein that can be incorporated into various preparations. In bars and restaurants, for example, it is common to find fried pupae seasoned with salt and pepper, served as an appetizer similar to peanuts or popcorn in Western culture. However, their use goes beyond simple appetizers as they also form part of soups, stir-fries, and other traditional dishes, adding a unique touch of flavor and texture. Once cooked, they emit a pleasant and attractive aroma. Their texture, however, can be somewhat peculiar to those not accustomed to it, being crunchy on the outside and juicy on the inside. This peculiarity, which might be jarring at first, is a clear example of the human ability to make the most of the resources nature offers. Bamboo shoots. While the image of a panda devouring bamboo shoots is ingrained in our imagination, few know that this giant herbivore is not the only one who enjoys this peculiar delicacy. Bamboo, far from being just a construction material, is also an edible ingredient with a long tradition in Chinese cuisine. Unlike trees, bamboo is actually a type of giant grass that has evolved to look like a tree. This means that its chemical composition differs from traditional wood, and in particular, young bamboo shoots have a texture similar to a carrot and are entirely edible. In fact, the inhabitants of regions where it grows have used it as a vegetable for thousands of years. Its flavor is neutral, comparable to that of cabbage, but with a sweet touch that makes it very versatile in cooking. Thanks to its ability to absorb the flavors of sauces and stews, bamboo shoots become an ideal ingredient for a wide variety of dishes. Fried duck tongue. Chinese cuisine is characterized by its ingenuity and use of various animal parts, and yaxie, a dish made from fried duck tongues, is a perfect example of this. They are thumb-sized and have a gelatinous texture due to their high collagen content. This makes them unappetizing if cooked otherwise, but the magic happens when they are fried in hot oil. The result is an explosion of textures, crispy on the outside and soft on the inside, like a French fry but with a meaty touch. However, there's a small detail that requires attention. They contain a bone that must be removed during consumption, which can be a bit inconvenient for those not used to this type of food. Those who have tried yaxie describe its flavor as mild, similar to nuts, and it is generally accompanied by spicy sauces and often consumed as an appetizer or snack to go with a beer. While the idea of eating duck tongues may seem strange to some, it is worth remembering that in many cultures, such as in Latin America, dishes like tongue tacos are consumed, which are not so different in essence. In the end, the key is to open the mind and palate to new culinary experiences. Yaxie, with its crispy texture and unique flavor, can become a delicious surprise for those who dare to try it. Dragon's beard candy. In the world of Asian desserts, simplicity and delicacy are often the norm. However, this does not mean that creativity and ingenuity are lacking. A perfect example of this is dragon's beard candy, a Chinese dessert known as long shu tang that surprises both in appearance and taste. Despite its striking name, it is not a complex dessert in terms of ingredients. It is basically caramel sprinkled with cornstarch. The magic lies in the preparation, a meticulous process that requires skill and precision. The caramel is stretched and twisted repeatedly, constantly dusting it with cornstarch. This process creates a texture similar to soft fur, hence the origin of the peculiar name. Watching the preparation is almost as fascinating as eating it. The caramel strands become finer and more numerous with each twist, creating an edible work of art. On their own, they are a delight with a sweet and delicate flavor. However, sometimes they are filled with nuts, such as peanuts, sesame seeds, or shredded coconut, creating an explosion of textures and flavors that some describe as tickling the mouth. Sea cucumber in mushroom sauce. China's ancient culinary culture is characterized by its ingenuity and use of various ingredients, including some uncommon to the rest of the world. An example of this is this dish, known in China as Haitian, an ingredient that brings a unique texture and flavor to the table. Not all species of sea cucumber are edible. In fact, some are toxic, and others simply do not taste good. However, over thousands of years, the Chinese have developed a deep knowledge of the varieties suitable for consumption, as it is considered a special delicacy often associated with celebrations and important occasions. Even traditional Chinese medicine attributes health benefits to it, particularly for the kidneys. Its flavor is mild, and its gelatinous texture is similar to soft cartilage. This makes it a versatile ingredient that easily absorbs the flavors of the other ingredients it is cooked with. Hence, its final taste depends largely on the sauce or broth it is prepared in. Preparing it is a laborious process that requires time and patience. First, it must be dried to eliminate its natural bitter taste, then soaked in salt water for several days, changing the water frequently. Finally, it is slow cooked for hours in chicken broth. A common accompaniment for this dish is mushrooms, as their flavors perfectly complement each other. The combination of the sea cucumber's gelatinous texture with the intense flavor of mushrooms creates a unique and memorable culinary experience. However, obtaining them can be challenging. These creatures have a slow reproduction rate, making them prone to overfishing. Fortunately, techniques have been developed for their captive breeding, helping to ensure their availability and sustainability. Bird's nest soup. In some regions of Asia, there is a species of swallow whose saliva has a peculiar characteristic. It hardens upon contact with air. These birds use this feature to build their nests in places inaccessible to predators, such as rocky cliffs and high caves. What might seem like an interesting animal fact takes an unexpected turn in the culinary world. These swallow saliva nests, known as birds' nests, are a coveted ingredient in Chinese gastronomy. In fact, the soup made from them has become a luxurious dish, reaching exorbitant prices of up to $10,000. The difficulty and risk associated with their collection, as it is done in dangerous areas and by people who risk their lives, contribute to their high cost. However, the most curious aspect of this delicacy is that its value does not lie in its flavor or nutritional contribution, as the nest dissolves almost completely in the soup and has no distinctive taste. So why is it consumed? The answer lies in traditional Chinese medicine, which attributes rejuvenating and healing properties to these nests. Additionally, in Chinese culture, swallows are symbols of good luck, and it is believed that consuming their nests transfers these properties to people. Stinky Tofu. While France boasts exquisite-tasting cheeses with often unbearable aromas, China has its counterpart in the world of tofu. Chou tofu, also known as Stinky Tofu. This iconic street food of Chinese cuisine is characterized by its penetrating odor, so intense that some claim it can bring tears to your eyes. However, beyond its peculiar aroma, it hides an unexpected flavor and a great culinary tradition. The secret of this unique tofu lies in its preparation process. Fermentation. Fresh tofu is submerged in a special brine made of water, salt, fermented vegetables, and in some recipes, even shrimp or fish. The composition can vary depending on the region and family recipes. During this process, which can last from days to weeks depending on the climate and specific recipe, natural bacteria and fungi break down the tofu's proteins and fats, giving rise to its distinctive and strong smell. Once fermented, it is fried or grilled to achieve a crispy texture on the outside and soft on the inside. It is usually served drizzled with garlic and chili sauce and often accompanied by pickled vegetables. While its aroma may be intimidating to some, those who have tried chou tofu claim that its flavor is unexpectedly delicious and that it is also a highly nutritious food, as fermentation facilitates the absorption of tofu proteins, making it beneficial for the body. Jellyfish salad. In most countries, jellyfish are among the few marine animals that are simply not eaten. Except in some places, well, I think you know where this is going. Their most popular preparation is in a type of salad known as liangban haijie. However, only one species of jellyfish is edible, the cannonball jellyfish, and only the bell is eaten. The tentacles are stinging and should never be touched. Now, these animals decompose almost immediately after death due to their basic biology. So, upon catching them, they are dried and salted to preserve them. To use them in cooking, they need to be rehydrated and desalted, just like salted fish. After this process, they are quickly cooked in boiling water and then submerged in cold water to maintain their texture. They are then cut into thin strips or bite-sized pieces depending on the recipe. The meat doesn't have a flavor of its own. It only has a salty taste, so it absorbs the flavors of the other ingredients, which are usually green onions, garlic, sesame oil, and chilies. It works like a sponge where the different flavors of the vegetables can combine, hence its primary preparation is in salads. Cannonball jellyfish tend to reproduce out of control in some habitats, and eating them helps reduce their populations, so besides being an exotic food, it also helps the environment. I would personally try it just to know what the texture is like. And you? Fried pigeon. While there's an internet rumor that pigeons are eaten in Peru, in China, this bird is not only edible, but has become a popular street food dish. In many bars and restaurants, pigeons have replaced chicken wings as a popular option among diners. Although the idea of eating pigeons may seem strange to some, it's worth noting that this practice was common worldwide centuries ago. Pigeons were domesticated primarily as food, which explains their presence in various cultures around the globe. The popularity of chicken as a primary food source largely displaced pigeon consumption. Native to China's jungles, chicken became the preferred meat due to its flavor and versatility, relegating pigeons to a secondary culinary status. Ironically, today, while pigeons are seen as urban birds in most countries, in China, they have reclaimed their place at the table, especially on the streets. Unlike chicken, they are not cooked in parts but prepared whole, often with the head and all. After being plucked, they are marinated in wine or soy sauce for at least an hour. They are then briefly cooked in a pot with the marinade liquid and finally finished off in the oven. This process ensures they are juicy inside and crispy outside. Those who have tried this unique dish claim that its flavor surpasses that of chicken. However, the idea of eating pigeons may cause some hesitation among diners. Herbal mint jelly. Regular gelatin is made from connective tissue and bones. Trust me, you don't want to see how ordinary gelatin is made. But in China, they've found a much more pleasant way to make it. This is mint jelly, also known as herbal jelly. It is made from the leaves and stems of the Platystoma palustre plant, a close relative of mint and spearmint found in China. The leaves are crushed or blended, and the resulting liquid is filtered through a cloth before being mixed with a bit of honey and a spoonful of ash and water. The iodine in the ash creates a chemical reaction that turns the liquid into a vegetable gelatin. Originally used as a traditional remedy for fever due to its cooling mint effect, it has become a popular dessert throughout Asia. In fact, bubble tea originally didn't have tapioca pearls, but instead used blocks of this jelly. Squash blossom. As we've seen, using every edible part of a plant is important in Chinese cuisine, and this is one of the most beautiful examples of that. Not only is the fruit of the squash plant edible, but the flowers can also be eaten in creative and beautiful ways. For example, the flowers are used to make dumplings, where the dough is replaced with the flour, which is filled with minced meat and seasonings, then steamed inside the flour and finally breaded and fried. Or consider another example where the flour itself is battered and fried, creating a particularly unusual appetizer. Fried flowers are eaten in the same way one would eat French fries. See? Oriental cuisine isn't always shocking. Sometimes you'll find charming things. Mooncakes. These are a traditional Chinese sweet associated with the Mid-Autumn Festival, also known as the Moon Festival. This is one of the most important festivals in Chinese culture and is celebrated in the 8th month of the lunar calendar, roughly in the 2nd week of September. The origin of mooncakes dates back to the Tang dynasty between 618 to 907 AD, although some legends suggest their history might be even older. One popular story says that these cakes were used to transmit secret messages among Chinese rebels planning a revolution against the Mongols. The messages were hidden inside the cakes, allowing the rebels to coordinate their efforts and eventually overthrow the Mongol rulers. Mooncakes consist of a flaky outer pastry with various sweet and savory fillings, such as lotus seed paste, sweet red bean paste, nuts and candied fruits, and even some varieties with sweet and sour pork. During the Mid-Autumn Festival, mooncakes are exchanged among friends and family as a symbol of good wishes and unity. They are also given as gifts to colleagues and business partners as a sign of respect and gratitude. Cicada Chips. During summer, cicadas reproduce uncontrollably, as they have no natural defense against predators. Their only defense is to reproduce in such high numbers that predators cannot eat them all. In China, all food resources are utilized, so when these population explosions occur, cicadas make their way into the menu. Both the nymphs and adults of this insect are edible, but larvae are avoided to ensure cicadas are available the following year. Typically, cicadas are fried in oil, sometimes with just a bit of salt, and served as a snack in bars. In other regions, they are stir-fried with vegetables to make a main dish. Cicada collection usually happens during the summer months and is so easy that even children help, as these insects have no natural defense instincts and can be caught in large numbers. After collection, they are thoroughly cleaned in water to remove dirt and then boiled for a few minutes to ensure they are clean and pre-cooked before frying or using in other dishes. I know in the West, eating insects is frowned upon, but they are surprisingly rich in protein, and according to those who have tried them, their taste is not so different from that of potato chips. So, would you give them a try? Moldy tofu. Tofu production is almost identical to cheese production, except that soybeans are used instead of milk. This means that some strange practices found in cheese production in the West also occur with tofu, such as moldy tofu. Just like popular cheeses like cheddar or brie require special edible molds to alter their structure, shape, and flavor, tofu also undergoes similar processes. The edible molds that colonize tofu are a bit more shocking, as they create the characteristic white fuzz. But don't worry, they are edible. In fact, the presence of this mold gives the tofu a texture similar to brie cheese. It can be eaten as is, but is generally prepared in various ways, such as frying in oil or coating with chili flakes and sugar. Moldy tofu is also used as an ingredient in other preparations, such as egg pancakes and even certain types of flan. It's a living testament to how people from all nations have learned to deal with the fact that sometimes food is overtaken by fungi. Fried roses. In the West, flowers are mostly valued for their ornamental purposes, despite many being technically edible. In the East, if something is edible, it has a place on the menu. This is precisely the case with fried roses, one of the most unusual but visually appealing dishes in China. The preparation of this dish is quite simple. Individual petals are dipped in batter and then briefly fried to prevent them from absorbing too much oil, resulting in colorful, delicately flavored fritters. They can also be used in other dishes to add color, such as in a tortilla with rose petals. Fried tarantulas. I've saved the most shocking dishes for last, and for a specific reason. They're, let's say, difficult to look at. If you're not a fan of spiders, you might want to look away. Yes, we're talking about edible spiders, specifically tarantulas. This dish is typical in the jungle regions of Southeast Asia, including Cambodia, Vietnam, and parts of Southeast China. It's not something that everyone in China eats. In fact, many people in Eastern China find it almost as shocking as we do in the West. The dish has somewhat tragic roots. It emerged as a response to various famines in Southeast Asia during the 1970s. During these hard times, many people turned to eating insects and spiders due to extreme food shortages. Since tarantulas were abundant in these jungles, they became a vital source of protein. Over time, their consumption evolved from a tragic necessity to a culinary tradition that persists today. Although it might sound a bit gross, they are unexpectedly tasty, according to those who have tried them. To prepare them, their hairs and fangs are removed by briefly passing them over an open flame. Then, they are marinated in a mixture of salt, sugar, and garlic for flavor, and finally fried in hot oil until crispy. Arachnids are actually cousins to crustaceans, so their taste is not very different from shrimp or crab. Those who have tried them say it's somewhat like shrimp cooked in chicken broth. Scorpion skewers. Ha! Did you think the horrifying food was over? Nope. We're diving into one of the most shocking street snacks you can find in Beijing: scorpion skewers. These snacks are as simple as they are scandalous. They consist only of skewered scorpions that are fried and nothing more. You can find them in abundance at bustling markets in cities like Beijing. The consumption of arachnids, particularly scorpions, in China has a long tradition that goes back thousands of years. They have been used both in traditional Chinese medicine and in cuisine. These scorpions are not wild. They are farmed as food, just like shrimp or chicken. The taste of fried scorpions is described as a mix of nutty, chicken, and something like shrimp. The texture is crunchy on the outside due to frying and juicy on the inside. Snake soup. Now, let's talk about Chinese snake soup, an unusual dish eaten in the southern provinces of China, such as Guangdong, and also on the island of Hong Kong. Whether Hong Kong is part of mainland China or not is a discussion for another time, but the fact remains that this soup is enjoyed there. Like many other exotic Chinese dishes, it started in ancient times as a remedy. According to traditional medicine, snake meat can help improve blood circulation, reduce inflammation, increase vitality, and treat various ailments. Over time, it has become more of a food than a medicine. The species of snake commonly used is the Chinese water snake, or if unavailable, the common rat snake. Neither of these species is venomous, and their meat is tender and delicately flavored. Those who have tried it say it is surprisingly similar to fish, but with a firmer texture and a stronger taste. The soup also contains ginger, ginseng root, mushrooms, and berries. The snake meat is simmered with medicinal herbs and vegetables for several hours. This slow process ensures that all the flavors blend well and that the nutrients from the herbs are released into the broth. Chinese-style pork belly. To cleanse the palate from those shocking dishes, let's look at something much more popular and delicious: and which is slowly gaining fame in the West. Chinese-style pork belly, or hongxiao rao, which translates to red braised pork. For this recipe, the pork belly is slowly cooked in a soy sauce and sugar stew, giving the meat its characteristic dark red color and a sweet and savory caramelized flavor. The stew includes ginger, garlic, star anise, and cinnamon, and it is cooked for about 1.5 to 2 hours. This slow cooking process makes the pork belly's fat turn gelatinous and absorb the flavors of the stew, and it melts in your mouth. This type of pork is usually served over white rice, allowing the rice to absorb the stew sauce, but it is also used as a filling for steamed buns, creating a delicious contrast between the soft bread and the juicy meat. Peking duck. And let's end with the most iconic dish from China, one that you must try if you ever visit the country: Peking duck. This dish is one of the most emblematic and globally recognized in Chinese cuisine. Originating from Beijing, its roots date back to the time when Mongol emperors ruled China. However, the recipe developed over centuries and became the favorite dish of emperors and their court. The duck used is a specific breed that has been raised in Beijing for centuries to ensure tender and flavorful meat. The duck is thoroughly cleaned and its entrails removed. It is then dipped in boiling water to tighten its skin, and the meat, especially the skin, is coated with a mixture of honey, vinegar, and spices. The duck is then hung in a cool, well-ventilated place for 24 hours to dry and harden the skin. Finally, it is roasted in a special oven. The skin turns into a sweet kind of crackling, while the meat remains juicy as the juices are sealed inside. It is served in a very particular way. The chef slices it into thin pieces, showing the contrast between the crispy skin and the meat, and it is served with flour tortillas, cucumber, and sweet bean sauce, allowing diners to assemble their own rolls with slices of crispy skin and duck meat in a pancake. And there you have it, the most unusual and delicious dishes from the Far East. Let us know in the comments if these dishes whetted your appetite or made it disappear. Like and subscribe. And in the meantime, here are 2 videos that you'll surely love.